Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chanda Ballava Girivaradhari Gopi Chanda Ballava Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Praja Janarandana Yashoda Nandana Praja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vandachari Yamuna Tira Vandachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Chanda Ballava Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Praja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya So we're reading today, continuing our reading from Srimad-bhagavatam. Today we are on verse Canto 9, Chapter 19, verse number 11. Chapter is called King Yayati Achieves Liberation. So, we chant the Sanskrit verse. Let's put it up on the screen here. Samvada Krishna Sopi Jaya Jaya Kupalabdaya Kalan Varhu Titam Badre Hamayar Naryapi Tushati Sampada Vishana Sampada Vishana Sopi Yajaya Kupalabdaya Alang Bahu Titang Badre Hamayar Nadya Pitushati Sambhada Vishaya Sopi Yajaya Kupadabdaya Alang Bahu Titang Badre Hamayar Nadya Pitushati Sampada Vishana Sopi Yajaya Kubalabdaya Alang Bahu Titang Badre Amayra Nadya Pitushati Sampada Vishana Sopi Yajaya Kubalabdaya Alang Bahu Titang Badre Hamayar Nadya Pitushati Sampada Vishana Sopi Yajaya Kupalabdaya Alang Bahu Titang Badre Hamayar Nadya Pitushati. Okay. So word for word synonyms. Sambada Vrishanaha. Rejoined with his testicles. Saha, he, api, also, he, indeed, ajaya, with the she-goat, Kupalabdaya, whom he got from the well, Kalam, for a time, Bahutitam, of a long, long duration, Padre, O my dear wife, Kamai, with such lusty desires, na, not, Aja api, even until now, Tushati is satisfied. Translation. And I've explained this a little bit. My dear wife, when the he-goat had his testicles restored, he enjoyed the she-goat he had gotten from the well, but although he continued to enjoy it for many, many years, even now he was not full. He has not been fully satisfied.
Моя дорогая жена, когда козлу представили мошонку, он вновь растяны с рождением, слезой, спасенный из колодца, но хотя он не насытен. В течение многих лет он до сих пор так и насытится.
So before going to the purport, this is a, and we're, you especially, you're not familiar with this part of our Srimad-bhagavatam. So this is a history. Srimad-bhagavatam is a many histories that are presented here to help us to become Krishna conscious.
Это одна из историй Srimad-bhagavatam, которая существует в нас к созданию Кришны.
So we've been this chapter, previous chapter, we're reading about a king who had, by chance, found one lady that had been thrown into a well.
И мы читали в предыдущей главе о том, как один царь нашел женщину, которая была брошена в колодец.
And he saw her there, so of course he helped to get her out.
Он увидел ее, конечно же, он помог ей.
And upon helping to get her out, he also became very attracted to her.
И в процессе помощи он очень сильно привязался.
And she also was very attracted to him, being very thankful that he was rescued her from the well that somebody had thrown her into.
И она тоже привязалась к нему, отчасти благодарности, что он ей помог.
So he ended up accepting her as his wife.
Он взял ее за свою жену.
And for a very long, it says many years, so many years it says, they were married and living together and enjoying sex life, basically.
Многие годы они жили вместе и наслаждались сексом.
And so after many years of enjoying together in that way, he's finally coming to the realization, I guess he's come to the realization at this point, that it's a lot of material enjoyment, but he's still not satisfied.
По прошествии многих лет он понял, что это материальное наслаждение, это не чувство, оно приносит настоящее счастье.
And of course, this is the nature of lust. No matter how much you try to satisfy it, it simply increases the desire.
Это является природой похоти, несмотря на то, сколько чем больше мы пытаемся его усладить, нашу похоть, тем больше хочется.
But at this point, and this king actually had been cursed early on in the marriage. He had been cursed by one mystic yogi that you immediately should become old.
И в этом случае царь он готовит в самом начале своей жизни на то, чтобы стать старцом.
And this curse was actually very, it was a real curse. So when it was stated that he actually immediately became very old and incapable of any kind of enjoyment.
И это было настоящее проклятие, которое сразу сделало его стариком. Таким образом он не мог наслаждаться полностью своим чувством.
But he was also given a benediction that if you can find somebody else who will take your old age, then you can be young again, and somebody else will take the old age from
но в то же время была дана небольшая милость, поблажка. Если он дает кого-то, кто меняется с ним местами, кто возьмет на себя эту старость, то он сможет обрести милость и продолжать наслаждаться чувством.
And actually, one of his youngest son agreed to that he would take his father's the curse of this old age, and the father became young, and then of course, as I explained, he spent many long years enjoying with this woman who became his wife.
И в конце концов, его младший сын, он согласился поменяться конечной юностью на старости своего отца, и таким образом его отец продолжил по полной наслаждаться.
So the king, now he's towards the end of his life, and he's telling his wife a story, called an allegory.
И уже мы читаем сейчас историю конца жизни царя, и он рассказывает историю, которая является аллегорией.
And the story he's telling, it actually relates to his own life, but he's telling it as a story. So he's talking about two goats, a male goat and a female goat.
И на самом деле эта история о его жизни, но он представляет так, как это зла.
And how they so in this verse here, he's saying, my dear wife, when the he goat had his, in the story, the male goat, his testicles were cut, and then now we have restored. That's the story. So he's saying when the he goat had his testicles restored, which is actually compared to him getting his youth back, he enjoyed the she goat he gotten from the well for many years, but still he was not satisfied. Okay, so that was just a little preview to bring everyone up to date. So now we'll read Srila Prabhupada's purport. Srila Prabhupada is our founder of our organization, and he's written, he's translated and written purports for so many verses here, so many books actually. And the purport, of course, to help us to understand what the real point is in these histories that are in the Srimad-bhagavatam. So Srila Prabhupada's purport, when one is bound by affection for one's wife, one is attached to sexual desires that are very difficult to overcome. Therefore, according to the Vedic civilization, one must voluntarily leave his so-called home and go to the forest. Pancha shordram vanam rajet. Human life is meant for such tapasya or austerity. By the austerity of voluntarily stopping sex life at home and going to the forest to engage in spiritual activities and the association of devotees, one achieves the actual purpose of human life.
Человек, который посвятит себя аскезе, осознательно поначать лес, чтобы в обществе заниматься духовной деятельностью, достигнет цели своей жизни.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shilakaya Chakshu Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave. Modern civilization is, for the most part, everyone is thinking how to enjoy the material world more and more. For those who are more in the mode of goodness, they might find their enjoyment by trying to do, say, welfare work or some kind of welfare, philanthropic work, something like that for others. But that is still a type of material enjoyment, because they're doing it. I'm feeding hungry people and doing so many things because I feel that it makes me feel good. And so general and material life, one tries to enjoy the world up until the very end, up until the very last moment of our life. We're striving for enjoyment. And in reality, no matter how much one enjoys materially, how much opportunity there is to enjoy, no one is completely satisfied with that enjoyment. Just like someone might have lots of money, but no matter how much money you have, the tendency is to try to get more and more and more. And so the Vedic civilization was different. Vedic civilization means when the people in general were following the principles of this Vedic knowledge. And of course, anytime in human society, anytime in history, in general, people still have the desire to enjoy so many things. But the difference was that in Vedic culture, the general understanding, the general teaching was that, okay, you enjoy, but at some point in your life, you have to put aside that material enjoyment and practice some austerity to become closer to God.
Но основная личная цивилизация была в том, что люди понимали, что да, мы можем сейчас наслаждаться, но в какой-то момент мы должны отвлечься, чувствовать наслаждение и менять из аскезы, чтобы приблизиться к Богу.
So it's described in this purport how one, there's what's in Vedic culture, there's what's called the Varnashram. Varnashram means 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. So the 4 varnas are Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Brahmana means those who are in society, and in any society, you find people who have these different natures. Brahmanas means the priestly class, the teachers, the intellectuals, that is Brahmana. Kshatriyas were the administrative class, the kings, the administrators in society. Vaishyas were the business people, people who actually ran a business, and were also those who were protected the animals, especially the cows. And the largest part of the society were the Shudras, who were workers. The workers were assisting the other varnas. And in that way, by doing that, gradually, all the members of society were not engaging in sinful activities, but gradually were advancing very, very, slowly at least, towards the ultimate goal of life, which was to become liberated or become Krishna conscious. And we have many histories in the Srimad-bhagavatam, especially the leaders, especially the kings, saintly kings, who at the end of their lives, they would renounce to being the king, and they would go off to the forest or to the mountains or somewhere, and they would practice fully engage themselves in devotional service to the Lord. So these were good kings, saintly kings. Basically, they were already pure devotees of Krishna, so they didn't really have to do anything, go off and leave everything but they did it as an example for the people in general. So,
И они уже и так были чистыми преданными Кришне, но они делали это, пытались хотели жизни и хотели, чтобы подать пример остальному обществу.
there was King Prithu in Satyuga, who he was an extraordinary king, and he ruled up until, I'm not sure what age he was, but he was ruling the whole world, not just a little kingdom somewhere, but the whole world.
И Сатьюга был такой царь, Криту, и он правил не только своим государством, он целый мир правил.
And towards the end of his life, he just as an example for the people in general, he turned over his kingdom to his sons, and he left for the, as it says here, left for the forest.
И к концу жизни он, как пример, передал свое царство своему сыну и ушел в лес.
And as an example, he gave up all kinds of material enjoyment, which of course is available especially to the king, the emperor of the world. And he gave up all that and simply engaged 100% in the devotional service to the Lord.
И как пример он отрекся всех чувств наслаждения и учился на 100%.
There's also the example of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj also was actually Dhruva Maharaj became pure already in his childhood. And he ruled the world for a period of time. This is also in Buddhist Satyuga. So he ruled for thousands of years, 36,000 years. But at the end of his life, he also found as an example for his citizens who were not on his level of devotion. He also turned over everything to his sons and went off to the forest, to the mountains, and dedicated his last part of his life 100% to devotional service.
И так же самое он после своего правления он отрекся всех чувственных наслаждений и ушел в лес и полностью снялся с этого служения, показав образом нам всем, как он будет поступать.
And actually there was a very nice lesson in that history about Dhruva Maharaj at the time of his leaving the kingdom and going to dedicate his last energies in devotional service to the Lord.
И есть еще замечательный урок в этой истории, когда он в то время, когда он всего отрекся, полностью посвятил служению.
And that lesson was that even though he was already pure, and even though he was at that point by himself, nobody was watching what he was doing, this last part of his life, he was still engaging in his devotional activities.
И урок в том, что он был сам по себе, он был чистый преданный, он все равно продолжал преданное служение.
And Srila Prabhupada he commented in one of his purports that even if and when we who are practicing Krishna consciousness now, we become fully Krishna conscious, still at the still we should act. Uh, he says on the neophyte platform, which means I'm going to keep chanting my japa. I'm going to keep following the regular principles. I'm going to keep following the rules, regulations, even if I become fully Krishna conscious.
Еще в этом важно говорится, что если мы даже достигли платформы чистого преданного служения, чисто преданного, мы не должны останавливаться, мы должны продолжать читать джапу, выполнять свое преданное служение, следовать принципам и действовать так, как мы все еще
Because the tendency in our conditioned state, the tendency may come that if we feel, oh, now I've become very advanced. Everyone is glorifying me, everyone's appreciating me, and thinks I'm very advanced. So we may think like that, and we think, so now I'm feeling very advanced. I don't have to follow all the rules, regulations, regular principles, and so many things.
Просто в нашей обусловленной позиции тенденция такова, что мы начинаем думать, о, у меня уже такой возвышенный уровень, мне не нужно последовать, я не должен совершать свое служение, поэтому нам нужно, несмотря ни на что, продолжать свое служение.
So that is Prabhupada said that even when we become Krishna conscious, or even if we think that we've become fully Krishna conscious, we should not stop our same activities.
Поэтому Прабхупада говорит, что не думаем, что мы стали полностью, что мы полностью осознали Кришну, мы должны прекращать наше служение, нашу деятельность создания Кришны.
And those activities for us primarily means the same vows that we make at the time of initiation. I will, for the rest of my life, I will continue to chant 16 rounds minimum, 16 rounds of japa on my beads, and I will not engage in those four sinful activities: eating meat, possession, intoxication, and gambling.
И для нас это значит, что мы следуем тем же правилам, которые дали клятву следовать инициации, значит, читать 16 урок джапы и следовать 14 принципам.
So even if we are, or we think we are fully Krishna conscious, we should, at least as an example for others, we should follow the same standard of life that we promised at the time of initiation.
И если даже мы думаем, мы уже стали, если мы полностью осознали Кришну, или мы думаем, что мы осознали Кришну, мы должны оставлять свою верность, осознать Кришну, и следовать принципам, и выполнять свои служения.
And of course, we who are practicing Krishna consciousness have some obligation. It's like a lifetime commitment, my lifetime. We're thinking of. Anyways, we have an obligation to do what Srila Prabhupada taught us to do, which was to give Krishna consciousness to others, not just that we practice, but we teach others.
И, конечно же, если мы практикуем сознание Кришны, у нас есть такая большая ответственность давать эти знания и помогать другим видеть Кришну и проповедовать.
So even in the last part of our life, as long as we have a little bit of energy left, we should be chanting, and we should be teaching, as far as possible, others how to be Krishna conscious.
И к концу своей жизни, если у нас есть хотя бы доля капли энергии, мы должны сами практиковать и обучать других сознанию Кришны, помогать им контакт Кришны.
And Srila Prabhupada himself, of course, showed the perfect example. In the last months of his life, his body was physically, he was in a very difficult situation. But still, he was constantly, in his last months, he continued, as he was doing previous to that, continued preaching to his disciples and to others. And he was continuing to translate not translate, but dictate the purports for these books. We can imagine, if we're really, really sick, and we have some, whatever we would do, it's very, very difficult. But Srila Prabhupada showed by his example, his personal example, that even in the difficult point of the last months of his life, he was preaching and he was dictating with full good consciousness, full intelligence and focus, dictating these purports to some later chapters of the Srimad-bhagavatam.
Нужно действовать, он, несмотря на свое здоровье, он продолжал до самого конца жизни проповедовать и давать переводы, комментарии книгам в полном сознании.
So we who are practicing Krishna consciousness should never think, oh, now I'm old, now I'm 65, 70 or older, and therefore I'm retiring from all this chanting and so many other things. You should never give that up.
Когда мы практикуем сознание Кришны, мы должны никогда думать, что может опять, как 70, я ухожу на пенсию, и нужно читать больше джапу.
In fact, we should always be thinking more and more, how can I increase my preaching, increase my chanting, increase the devotion in my chanting up until the very end.
По сути, мы нужно всегда думать, как еще больше расширить свою деятельность, как лучше читать джапу, больше преданности, развивать до самого конца.
We should, some people say, oh, I'm too old to learn anything new. But in Krishna consciousness, hopefully we don't come to that consciousness of I'm too old to learn anything. Rather, we should become more and more and more eager to learn about Krishna. So that's Shravanam means hearing, learning, like that, and Kirtanam means chanting or preaching. So both hearing and chanting, we should strive to the last moment of our lives, so we should strive to do these as far as we can physically do it.
Это значит изучать, слушать, Kirtanam это значит проповедовать, выступать самому, и мы должны стремиться до конца жизни действовать в соответствии с этими принципами, началами и принципами.
And if we remain in that consciousness up until the last moment of our lives, then of course the reward, so to speak, is that we can go back home, back to the spiritual world.
Если мы можем оставаться в сознании того, что нужно продолжать нашу деятельность, выздоравливаться, мы в конце жизни мы вернемся обратно к Богу.
Start. Anyway, are there any questions or comments? Anyway. Okay, so there's no questions, comments. I guess we can finish for today. We'll continue with this next verse in Srimad-bhagavatam tomorrow.
Мы продолжим Srimad-bhagavatam завтра.
Shri Prabhupada ki jai.